Welcome to Wander Mode, a podcast that wanders through topics such as entrepreneurship, traveling, and mamahood. As a teacher turned entrepreneur and a mama to one, I am sharing my tips and tricks to maintain harmony in a multifaceted life. Let's wander. Today's interview and topic has so many elements that I love: self-care, a mother-daughter duo, entrepreneurship, and the power of giving back. I have the pleasure today to speak with Kobi Gregory and Tasha Harris, owners of KobiCo. KobiCo is a candle company with a twist. The candles include curated playlists to combine scent with sound. Yes, they are as amazing as they sound. Mine is actually burning as I am recording this. So thank you, Kobi and Tasha, for sharing your story with me today.
Thanks, Julie, for having us. We're so excited. We have to ask which one you're burning.
I am burning the Fallen for You candle.
Perfect.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, the pumpkin spice is like delicious. It is just
The
like
little coffee bean and chai. Yes, super yummy. Yes.
Oh, it's amazing. I start every day with my journaling and I light my candle and I'm listening to my playlist, and it's like it gets me in a really good headspace.
Yes,
That's exactly
what we want. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's take the audience back to 2020 and the reason why you founded this company.
So 3 years ago, it was 2020. I was a junior at De La Salle High School, just entering my second semester of my junior year. Probably a month before quarantine hit is when we kind of started brainstorming ideas for KobiCo, just because I was wanting to attend an HBCU college tour that I was attending annually previously. And so I wanted to help with my mom fund the college tour so that I'd be able to go later in that year. So we kind of started a month right before quarantine hit in March. Our first event was a father-daughter dance that I had also been attending prior. And we had just gotten so much love and support from that father-daughter dance with just our first few products that we had started out with, that when quarantine did hit in March, we didn't want to give up on what we had. I ended up taking a 2-week financial camp during quarantine and everything so that I could build up my business so that it was able to provide for my college fund and now also a scholarship fund that we've started as well. But yes, during the time of quarantine, I struggled a lot with my mental health, and just because I was separated from my friends, everyone was experiencing something that we've never really experienced before. And although we were all together, it was still something super, super rattling and new that we had to kind of adjust to. And so with that, music was one of my biggest self-care components, and also creating the candles themselves. And so that, hence the playlist, being able to add the QR code in the playlist has been super special to me, just because music was a huge, huge thing that helped me out during that time. And of course, my mom came on to help me later on during the year and become more hands-on. She was in business for over 25 years. And so just for us to be able to put our brains together and create something beautiful has been amazing.
I agree. I'd also have to say 3 months prior to COVID, I had walked away from my corporate career because I was super burnt out and I had hit a brick wall. And while I was detoxifying from that experience, little did I know 3 months later, the world would join me in a collective pause. And it was something so totally unexpected. But then, like Kobi said, it was awesome, an awesome opportunity for us to support each other while we were having our mental health stress issues and anxiety. I saw how much joy that pouring candles brought Kobi, and I started helping out little by little. My intention was to stay in the background, but the more joy that I saw it bring her, the more effort I wanted to put into helping her create something long lasting. And again, she got so many opportunities where we saw traction and validated that this was something that we could pursue together.
Yeah, there are a lot of great things I'm going to pull out of what you just said for questions. But I think the first question that I have that comes to mind, and this is because I'm a former teacher, so I taught the last 15 years. And one of the projects that I had my kids do was a Shark Tank like mimic project. So they had to design a business, they had to think about the marketing, they had to create this presentation where they got up in front of some students that participated in DECA at our school. And so the high schoolers would come down and they would be our sharks. And then the kids would kind of pitch to them and they would get offers or maybe not get offers depending on how much work they put into their presentation. So my question for you, Kobi, is as a high schooler, how did you manage running a business and all the things that come with being in high school at the time?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that is a really great question. I fumbled around like like nobody's business. Honestly, a lot of us this was new for all of us. My mom, me, everyone in the entire world was experiencing like COVID, yes, but me being a teenager within that in high school and also starting a business, I was a mess. I'm not even gonna lie. It just, when you have a business that the whole mission is to kind of put out the importance of self-care, it is hard to not think about that and hard to actually not try and focus on taking care of myself. And so that's what I really tried to prioritize and still continue to try and prioritize, just because, yes, when you work with your mom, you constantly want to fire each other every single day. So we had to come up with kind of just a little bit of space. Like I still needed to give myself space to be a teenager, but also be a business owner as well, so that me and my mom could flow together, so that the business could flow well. And so, yeah, I got another job. I still worked outside of KobiCo. I still hung out with my friends. I still do. I just try my best to balance out my schedule with still being young and also being a business owner, which can be pretty difficult at times. I don't know. I'm still learning probably every day, and will probably continue to learn every day on how I can try and balance this out. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's still a journey. It's a beautiful journey, but yeah.
I think in the beginning it was like ignorance is bliss. We didn't know what we didn't know. And so we just, pressed ahead. And as we approached new challenges, we just figured it out as we went along.
And together.
There wasn't a playbook for us. And so I think the ease of that, well, because there was no playbook, it made it a bit easy for us to just think of it on the fly and throw spaghetti on the wall, and whatever stuck, we stuck with it. And we were really big proponents of learning about the retail business, and we got some really amazing opportunities to be a part of some pro bono programs. Initially, Target and Hands On Twin Cities have a pro bono program where they allow volunteers to support fledgling upcoming businesses. And so we received support from their marketing teams, their finance teams, and it really helped put us on the right path for success.
So Kobi's sharing things that I think I heard from a lot of the teenagers that I was working with at the time through COVID as well, because we're doing online learning and I'm trying to still connect with my students, and they're dealing with mental health and feeling really disconnected from friends, which like at that time of your life for any of us, we can think back to high school and your friends are your core, right? Like that's everything. And it sounds like, Tasha, you were also dealing with some mental health struggles even within your own career. So you jump in, you're supporting your teenage daughter in this venture and you're seeing her love for that. Was that this mama bear, like totally instinctual thing? Or as you kind of made that decision to leave your career, even though that sounded like the best route for you, were there moments where you were like, holy smokes, I just jumped on board with a business that my teenager created, and what now? Was there any hesitancy there?
No hesitancy whatsoever. It was a bit of an act of rebellion. Once I saw the passion that she had, it started making me passionate. And I'm like, hey, she's making money off of this thing. And I mean, like, how this is a full-fledged opportunity to pursue something amazing. And, while I was detoxing from what was my corporate career, I was praying a lot and just asking to have it revealed to me what my next adventure would be as far as my career was concerned. I never in a million years would have guessed that I would be so blessed to be in a position to work side by side with my daughter, to create a legacy for our family, and to make such an impact on our community. So every day that I get to do this, I'm joyful. It's hard at times, it's challenging at times. But then when I think about, like, I'm maybe driving to pick up an order or drop off an order or pick up some random supplies, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. But then I think about where I would be, like behind a desk, or, giving someone direction, or just getting challenges at work in the corporate office. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed not to be there. And so it just fuels me even more. Like, I never want to go back to corporate. That is my why. And so I push really hard. Kobe pushes really hard because she sees me push really hard. And so, that's about it.
Yeah, I can only hope someday that I am able to have that same kind of relationship with my daughter. So my daughter's only 3 right now. I would say we're in a little bit of the 3-nager phase. We're seeing some of those kind of spicy nacho characteristics come out right now. But
leadership skills.
Yes, exactly. And I do not want to crush that, because that's where your grit comes from. For sure. Like, hands down. I have my daughter come in and sit next to me when I'm working sometimes, and she'll just be kind of coloring or doing whatever she's doing. But it's that with this idea that, like, as a mom, I'm showing her that, yes, I was a teacher for 15 years, but that sometimes life requires reinvention to take care of ourselves, to find ourselves again, to stay true to our passions. And I want her to see, even though I don't think she'll fully process it right now at 3, that we can do this, and we can do hard things, and really beautiful things can come out of that. And so just listening to the two of you, it really gives me a hope and a vision. But what would you say are the 2 biggest positives and the 2 biggest challenges in working as a mother-daughter duo?
The biggest challenge, besides getting fired by her weekly because my teen daughter, my young adult daughter is my boss, not being able to do it all, not having the capacity, knowing everything that needs to be done and not having the capacity to do it. We are a small 3-man team. And for a while, my approach was go for the low-hanging fruit, for the quick wins. But then I realized, oh my gosh, there's a kabillion of them, and I'll be down here on my knees picking up the low-hanging fruit forever. And so we just had to get more strategic. And I think, being able to recognize that is a positive. We know that we don't know everything, and I consider myself a lifelong learner. And so I am actively in 2, actually 1 just wrapped up, but probably 2 of 4 total accelerators that I've been in since we've owned the business, because I want to be successful and I want to be able to lay the foundation. While Kobe's the creative behind everything, she's got amazing ideas. I just know from my corporate experience and my educational background, the things that need to be done. I came from an operations background, so I'm very strategic and thinking in that manner. And I'm like, if we're going to be a long-lasting business, there are certain things that we need to do. There's a foundation that we need to have. And so the positive of that is Kobe is very open-minded to learning, but then her ideas, she's such an awesome idea generator. I don't like to think that I know it all, but there's a few times that I have thought that, but then she'll correct me and be like, well, why don't we do this? And so those are some of the challenges, and capacity is one of the biggest ones. What would you say?
Yeah, and I would say, like, kind of piggyback off of that, because she's my mom, I have like this for the longest time, like in the beginning of us starting this business, my goal was to separate business partners from mother and daughter, and like leave mother and daughter at home, and in the office we're business partners. That right there was a goal that I did not know would be impossible, but it was. And what you have to do is, or what we ended up having to do, is really kind of throwing that away and being mother and daughter and business partners in the office at the same time, but also like having that respect for each other in both ways of business partner and mother and daughter. And so that came with a lot of like me wanting to pitch ideas, but not thinking they're good because like, oh, this is my mom. Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I would have kind of difficulties kind of bringing her these ideas because I didn't know if they would be good enough. And that's kind of on the side of like mother and daughter thing of not wanting to disappoint her, but also on the business side of things, if this is something that I think could build up the business, this is something I should be able to say and be able to pitch. And that's kind of some of the struggles that we had to go through, or that I've still had to go through, doing this together.
Yeah, I think it's the interesting thing when you have a really good relationship with your mom. It is that fear of bringing those ideas and a little bit of that imposter syndrome of, is this good enough? Am I worthy? Is this idea better than what someone else's idea is? And is my mom going to be proud of me? And those are huge, huge questions that I'm sure come up all the time for you. And I could see how, like, yes, there's beauty in having a business partner, but when your business partner is your parent and you're wanting to make them proud, there's some complexity.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just thinking about my own relationship with my mom, and we are very close. I talk to her multiple times a day, if I'm being transparent, and she lives in a different state. But I was trying to think as you were sharing that, how my approach would be to bringing things to my mom. And I think I would have very much been the same way with that. So you started with the candle idea, and you have these curated playlists that go along with that. And, as you're talking about kind of strategy and a process and growth, what has that process looked like for you? How are you planning on growing that? Did it start with just the candle, and even like the playlist thing kind of came along later, or how did that work?
So we've just focused on expanding our sales channels. Something that I learned in one of the accelerators. So we started off as an e-commerce business and did not have any plans to open a retail store, but the universe made that possible for us. I say that because we have a business advisor who owned a space, who was leasing a space in downtown Minneapolis, 4,000 square feet of office space that was not being used because they pivoted during COVID and all the employees went to work remotely. And as we were having conversations about how he could help us and help the business, we were like, this was in our early stages. We were like, we need to get out of the garage. It's, going to be November soon. It's not comfortable. We need space. And so he blessed us for 2 years with free rent and 4,000 square foot. And I don't know if because the office was so posh and professional looking that we just assumed like this is where we're at and this is what level we're going to operate at. And we were able to grow and scale. And we had hired contractors to come help us with all of our pop-up events and farmers markets. And it just was like, it was, I don't want to say it was so easy, but so many blessings happened that, it just made it impossible for us not to act upon those things. And so we were in the space for 2 years right here downtown Minneapolis. And where we're currently located was the showroom for their business. And so their lease ended in February. And because we had great relationship with the property manager, I was able to negotiate an awesome deal. And whether we, had this space or not, we knew we would have to move and didn't want to go back to the garage. And we were like, we don't want to go to Acorn Storage. That's not cute. And so the showroom became available and it had a street front access. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're going to open a store. And so as unbelievable as it is, here we are today with a retail store, e-commerce, and then we are dabbling in some wholesale. We've got some pretty amazing wholesale clients. You can tell them about Electric Fetus.
Yeah, it's kind of a full circle moment. Growing up, me and my mom loved aromatherapy, so we would go to Electric Fetus all the time, and I would love to pick out the incense. And so just now we're in Electric Fetus, and so that becoming our full circle moment has been amazing for us.
Yeah, that was our first wholesale client, and we did not know what we were doing. We just asked, like, "Hey, can we bring our products here?" And
we didn't have like a line sheet. We didn't have
like nothing.
We didn't know what we were doing. We just wanted to do it.
And then we repeated that and just hit up Patina. We're like, "Hey, we got some great products."
We love Patina as well.
Yeah, so we just started hitting up all our favorite stores, and they kept saying yes. They loved Kobi's story, her passion, the product, of course. And so from there, we're in Electric Fetus down in the Valley, the Wedge. We just got into Martin Patrick 3, which is amazing. Kowalski's, all 11 Kowalski's. I feel like I'm forgetting some. Rose and Loon.
Down in the Valley?
I said down in the Valley. And one boutique in Atlanta. And yeah, all of this, again, we don't feel like we've mastered wholesale, but we're trying to grow our sales channels slowly but surely. And this season is our first time. We've grown organically. This season is our first time investing in paid ads and Facebook. And I tell you, it's terrifying because the algorithm changes so frequently, and you can only hope that you are, making a ripple in this sea of competition. And so, yeah, we're trying it all.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta, like you're going national, like
Right?
wow.
Oh, we bumped our heads nationally a couple of times too, if I must say. We went to Chicago for an event, and oh my gosh, the weather took us out. Oh, this whole summer we've been just two of our tents have been destroyed by the weather. We've had horrible conditions where, I mean, we've had to set up in the grass after a minor flood, and wet grass and candles don't mix.
No.
When we went to Atlanta, we didn't meet our sales goals, but we did again create an opportunity to partner with the boutique down there. So it's not easy at all. We've had some L's, but we've also had some successes.
And this might be more of a technical question because my side of entrepreneurship isn't as product based, but what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of going wholesale?
Advantages are brand awareness, really getting that validation. Like, man, our face, you couldn't tell us not to smile when we were, we'd walk by Electric Fetus or drive by Electric Fetus and be like, our products are there. And so many people started saying, oh, I saw you in Electric Fetus, or I saw you in Patina, or I saw you in, and so we're like, okay, this is helping. But it's also it's I mean, you're not it we do better business to customer directly, and so there's a huge profit that loss that you take if they're not buying in the bulk that you need. And so we're small, and we wanted to get our foot in the door, and so we've had to adjust our processes along the way. We didn't meet like the volume requirements that we had established, but again, we wanted to initiate relationships. So as we have longer term relationships, we're able to adjust our initial agreement to better align with our sales goals. And so, yeah, there's not much of a profit margin in wholesale. And so you have to find the other soft benefits associated with it. Like, we've got some great retailers that really promote our brand. And it's so awesome to hear other people find our brand in those stores that they shop. And then ultimately they'll come find us here at our own store. So
Case in point, I mean, that's how I ended up getting the candle on my desk. And I've got some people that I'm purchasing your holiday gift sets for, which I'm very excited about. I think they're just going to freak out over this idea that so much more than a candle, really, and the message and all that behind it, too. So in talking about wholesale and that connection piece, and you had shared earlier about your accelerators and some of the other connections you are making. Can you tell me more about that accelerator process and what that has brought to your business? And for those people out there looking at trying to grow their business, how do you find the right accelerator for you?
yeah, finding the right one is important. One, we've engaged our network and just observe what they were doing. And so we know quite a few successful brands out there, and they, through networking, have recommended these accelerators. The first one I was in was based in Denver, and it's called SistaBiz, and it's an accelerator for Black women and the brands that they own. Super supportive. I think I read about them in Essence magazine, and then I just followed up online and said, this is a network I want to be a part of. They offered an accelerator called Retail Success, and this was early on in our beginning, and it really helped us understand what running a successful business looked like. Their promise was, if you followed these steps, you were going to make six figures. And I'm like, okay, sign me up. And it was very rigorous. It was very intentional, but it was also collaborative. And we had tons of support from subject matter experts, from retail sales, branding, creating your customer persona, getting your inventory all together. And many of the accelerators that I've participated in have just increased the knowledge. Some of the modules and focus have been the same. And so I'm like, oh, I already know this. But every single one has a different twist and a different level of knowledge that I've gained in each of them. Right now, I'm in Goldman Sachs 100 Million Black Women, and we graduate on December 10th. That was an extremely rigorous process. And as if that wasn't enough, I was also in a local accelerator through Metropolitan Economic Development Association called Ascend. And that one, I felt like I was back in my master's program. I was taking participating in two very rigorous accelerators. But my love of learning and my love of wanting to do right and create something long lasting was what fueled me to continue. What I really loved about Meta's accelerator was that it was in person. And we got to meet our cohorts and collaborate with them, bond with them, understand what their struggles are. And being an entrepreneur can be super isolating, but knowing that you have someone in the struggle with you that you can bounce questions off of was super exciting for me. And again, with Goldman Sachs, I didn't realize that there were 4 other local brands from Minnesota that were also selected to participate until we got to the airport. And I'm like, oh my gosh, some brands I hadn't known, one person I did know actually. And so we bonded through that experience of being, representing Minnesota. And I tell you, every time someone gets an interview, every time someone gets an opportunity to shine a light on their business, they are not only shining the light on themselves, we are shining the light on all of the brands that we can, just to help support each other. So having that support network is super important. And yeah, if you're not gonna know everything, but in each of the accelerators, the learnings have really increased our knowledge and made us more comfortable in running our business. Each of them were different. I say research, ask people questions who have participated in them. I knew that the Goldman Sachs accelerator would be time consuming, but I didn't realize how time consuming it would be during the holidays and with another accelerator and with family life. And yeah, I'm super glad it's going to be over soon. But it really showed me how resilient I can be and how determined I can be, especially when it's attached to something that I'm so passionate about.
And I know as an entrepreneur, especially in your first year or two, cost is one of those things that is constantly on your mind. So do accelerators cost a lot of money, a little money? Is it worth the investment? Do you feel like you've seen that return on your investment? Are there access options to accelerators that are maybe free and you're just trying to make some basic connections, or how does that part work?
Sure. Some cost, some are free, some offer stipends, some do not. But they all, again, I'd say research and ask questions so you can find the best fit. Again, being an entrepreneur is very time consuming, but add on a very rigorous schedule of learning that can take some people out. The few that I've participated in, I mean, I've experienced it all. We were part of Lunar Startups, and they had a nominal monthly fee that was well worth it. Goldman Sachs just so happened to provide us with a scholarship. Meta Ascends Accelerator, you had to be invited to. What is it? Sister Biz Retail Success. That one is membership based. And so, as a part of being a part of that network, we were selected to be a part of that accelerator. So they all kind of vary with their requirements and what they offer. Many of them, again, do touch on the same subjects, but then in a very unique and distinct way. So, I mean, again, I thought, oh, I know this part. I can, kind of glaze over it. No, no, ma'am. There's more. There's more to it. And so I really appreciate having the opportunity to refine and prove and refine what we've learned thus far.
It's one of the biggest things that I feel like I'm learning right now as an entrepreneur is that connections are everything. And those connections can come in accelerators. I ended up hiring a business coach, and I'm part of a cohort of 10 other women who are also creating online courses, because that's ultimately what we're creating for our business, is to teach other people how to do what we're doing in the vacation rental space. So those connections are everything, and community is everything. And I even think back to you having your brick and mortar space. gifted to you for the first 2 years, and then being able to come to an agreement for that space going forward. Again, that gift of community and people who believe in one another is so powerful. And I know a big part of your business is giving back to community. It was really one of the things that drew me the most to you on your website. So tell me a little more about how you're working within your community and how you're making connections there. And I definitely want to hear more about that scholarship that you provide.
Oh, for sure. Initially, we started with a goal to provide funds for Kobe's college tuition, but when she decided to take a break,
when I decided to take a gap year, I wanted to kind of continue that Candles for College line and just be able to give back to the community, like you were saying. And so that's hence we started the scholarship fund. And for the first year, we were able to give back to the school that I am alumni from, so De La Salle. And it's just, honestly, it's been a really dope thing to be able to do.
I agree. So much that we've had Kelly Smith from Mindful in Minutes donate 2 times in the past couple of years. She's matched our scholarship fund. She offered a percentage of the proceeds from her podcast advertising to KobiCo, and we were then able to provide 2 scholarships last year and this year. We'll be announcing the winner on Giving Tuesday, next Tuesday, and we're just super proud about excited. That. Yeah. There's also the component of giving back associated with our Black Lives Matter candle. I experienced the loss of my dad due to gun violence when I was 8, and when you want to tell how we started Black Lives Matter? Oh, okay. When George Floyd was murdered, Kobe was really wanting to get out there and protest and just be passionate about letting her voice be heard. But it got really dangerous rather quickly. And so while she was kind of feeling helpless, like, what can I do? She came up with the idea to create the Black Lives Matter candle. And we wanted to use it to donate to local families. And unfortunately, we've had to, we created it right after George Floyd was murdered. And unfortunately, we've had to donate to 5 families since. And that's something that's really near and dear to my heart because I lost my dad to gun violence. We just want to bring additional awareness and support in that area.
Mm-hmm. And I think creating something, in some ways, it's the message that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. Just purchasing the candle, it does so much directly. And I think that I've heard from people that they feel empowered knowing that their purchase is making an impact, a positive impact on people who have suffered tremendous tragedy.
Mm-hmm. I think really that's the beauty that can happen when you own your own business is that not only does it hopefully support your own family, but you can use your business for good and you can use your business to promote the messages that you want to promote. When you had said that you don't want to go back to corporate, it's one of the big downsides when you're working for somebody else is that you're following along with their messages and their belief system and their hopes for their business. But when you own your own company, you can then direct your messages where you want them to go.
Right.
Such a powerful thing. So with this gift of giving, was that just an easy automatic decision for you to take a portion of what it is that you're earning to give back to your community?
It was a part of our core values. We are Christians and we believe in giving back. And it wasn't even a second thought. It was a no-brainer. We had to incorporate some way of giving back. We, as a family, like to volunteer and do what we can. And so it's, again, one of our core values. KobiCo is, us at the core, things that we love. It was nurturing for us in the beginning because it addressed our mental health needs, but then being a vehicle to create a legacy and viable income for us was important as well. But we love music. We love all things aromatherapy. We love all things, self-care. And so the brand is authentically us, true and true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can definitely feel that even just through your website. I have to say the energy that comes through your pictures together, especially more the spa-related pictures where you got your hair tied up and the oranges and all the fun things. Your personalities shine through in the website alone. And then when I walked into your storefront in Minneapolis, you're overwhelmed with the positive energy of that space. If you had to latch onto one strategy that would get you through those first really rough years, what would that strategy be?
I know this isn't grammatically correct, but I say always be learning. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and that can be very dangerous, especially if you're trying to grow too fast, or you don't know what you're signing. You really have to, whatever it is you're pursuing, you really have to do your research, and that includes like formal classes or online. I mean, there's so many resources that are out here, programs. We are lucky here in Minnesota. We have so many amazing programs that are here supporting entrepreneurs. But then again, the networking with brand owners who have been in the trenches for many years. You have to leverage it all and know for yourself. You have to have that grit and that resilience, because it's not always, raining dollars. I remember when I was small, I went to a friend's uncle's restaurant, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they got to be rich. They have their own restaurant. And that memory came to mind as soon as we filed for our, business license. And I'm like, oh, I was so off. No, like, this is a lot of work, and you have to dedicate the time. Well, one, you have to understand your why and what your goal is for your business. Like, not everyone wants to do it to be rich. Like, I want to do it so I never have to go to corporate again. You just have to make sure that you structure it to address your why and your goals, because those are not the same for every business owner. And so I think defining success for yourself is most important, and that way you can create the road path that looks and feels right for you.
I would hands down second what you just said. A big amen to that, because my husband and I have chatted about what are the goals for ourselves in this business. We want to make money to support our family and go on adventures. And
Right.
whatever that dollar amount is that supports that number, that's our target. I don't need millions upon millions upon millions. I don't need to become famous on a YouTube channel, because there's also a lot of responsibility that comes with people that have gone viral or are very much in the limelight. And if that doesn't really fit with your values or your ideas of what you want your business to be, then it's not going to be a super productive use of your time for you to try to achieve
Right.
that, when in fact, like, if you set your benchmark just a little bit lower, but it's what's actually meeting your needs or your dreams, that's what's more important.
Right. Wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap up with a separate question for you, Kobi, and then one for you, Tasha. But Kobi, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Are you currently going through college? Have you put yourself on a pause? And I know most late teens, early 20s somethings hate that question. I feel like it's the classic question that gets asked at a holiday by like a family member or something, like, what are your plans next year?
When are you getting married? When are you having a baby?
But yeah, for those younger listeners that are out there and hearing this, what do you have on your radar for the next few years?
Well, honestly, I want KobiCo to be more than just a candle and wellness brand. I want it to be an entire self-care brand. So anything that falls under self-care, I want to be able to touch. So I've always been able to connect with kids easily. I've always wanted to work with kids. So I've had thoughts of creating like a girls group with like teaching self-care, or me and my mom have even thought of like eventually having a resort one day. So like we have so many plans, but I definitely plan on going back to school within these 5 years for sure, and just building up the knowledge that I have so that I'm able to help my business grow even more so than it already has in 3 years. So yeah, that's my plan.
Cool. Because you're obviously a hardcore entrepreneur. Do you feel like there's still value in going back and getting a degree, or even just doing a certain amount of learning, or only taking a certain amount of classes? Is there value in that, separate of being already a successful entrepreneur?
I would say you you definitely have to find it. It's a little like harder to kind of see the purpose in it once you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like, the amount of love and like support and success that we've had within the 3 years. It's like, oh, what's the point? But but that's just what it is. The love and support and everyone who has contributed wanting to help me towards my future has and just instilled the fact that, yes, like this is something that I want to continue to do, so that I'm able to not only like fulfill like what these people have done to help me, but to also just build up and continue to have KobiCo be what it can be at its most successful point. So if that takes me going to school and learning more and getting certifications and getting my degree, then that is exactly what I'm going to do.
I laughed because I was at one point when we first started like, why did I even go to college or get my master's? I could have just did this. But life has its own, I mean, we all have our own journey, and life has a way of teaching you whether you're in school or not. I mean, my undergraduate took me a good 10 years to complete because I was stopping and starting and working full time and, you know, just living my best life until I figured, hey, this is something I want to do to accelerate my career. And once I put my mind to it, I was able to finish. And then once I graduated, I started my master's and finished that within a year and a half. And so I think each of those experiences helped me have a better outlook in, you know, an understanding and foundation, you know, foundational knowledge of what's needed to be successful. And I mean, the both of us together were pretty dangerous. She's got great ideas, and I'm like, well, let's make a process. So together we're doing amazing things.
I just read a post today that was talking about honoring the different women that we've been over the course of our lives. And even though you may not be the woman that you were 2 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, that you can still honor who that person was and the choices that she made, and recognize that those were all stepping stones in getting you to be where you are. And I think that life lessons come from different kinds of careers. I think you can transfer so many of those skills. Even though I'm not teaching, we're designing this course, and there's so much teaching in designing this course. I think that's kind of the neat thing about reinventing yourself is you've never fully really let go of who you were prior to that.
Right.
Same question for you, Tasha, is where do you see the company, yourself in the next 5 years?
Oh, I echo what Kobe says. All things self-care. I'd love to support her in launching a clothing line. Wait, we said a loungewear line. Mm-hmm. I love Panama. I've been there a couple of times. And so I've seen some amazing places where we could potentially build a resort. What else? And I love glamping domes. So, I mean, with KobiCo being the foundation, all things are possible. I know that we just want to keep on thriving and being in a position to help people. And I mean, the world is giving it back to us, and all these amazing opportunities keep falling into our laps. And so, I mean, the possibilities are endless. I'm open to what the universe and God has for us, because it's distinctly for us, and we're here for it.
What a beautiful message. And I love hearing what people see in the next few years, because I really do believe that there's a lot of power in manifesting something and saying something out loud. I think somewhere in our subconscious, we hear ourselves say these things, and then you keep coming back to that, and it can help make it happen. And so I appreciate you sharing that with me. And I am going to post all of your information for the listeners to access in the podcast description. But where can people find you? Where could they go on to purchase these candle gift sets for the holidays, since we're kind of hot in the middle of buying season right now?
Well, our store is located in downtown Minneapolis, right across the street from Target, off Nicollet Mall, 48 South 9th Street. You can find, if you search us up on Google, you can find the address there. But our Instagrams are also Love KobiCo, our Facebook as well. And then our website is www.lovekobico.com.
Oh, and we just signed up to participate in a holiday market located in IDS, the center of downtown Minneapolis. So across the street from the Dayton's Market, you now have another option, the IDS Marketplace, filled with amazing local vendors and brands. We're super excited to be a part of that as well.
Definitely support small business this holiday season. It makes a huge impact, and we'll be sure to include the link to that holiday market as well. Thank you, ladies, so much for being on the Wander Mode podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Julie.
If you wandered to this point in the episode, thank you for listening to the Wander Mode podcast. Please leave a review and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at WanderModeCo. Reach me by email at julie@wandermode.co. Until next time, wander on.